Cool. Do a quick confirmation here. We are live on YouTube. That's cool. Wow. She got it down today. Great.
Was it working last meeting?
No.
Because I tried to log in from a remote site and I got nothing except an agenda.
That's right.
On the
That's
screen.
exactly what happened.
Okay,
We
thank you.
didn't have any of our wonderful faces that time. We're getting like one step closer every day. Today's looking pretty good though. We're good on Facebook, good on YouTube. All right, so thank you, Gene. We'll start out with agenda. Any last minute additions to our agenda before we roll in here? If not, can I get a motion? Thank you. Jeez, I haven't been doing this long enough to know. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Yeah, so moved.
All right, Bobby, second. Second. Stephen, thank you. All in favor of approving the agenda as is?
Aye.
Good,
Aye.
unanimous, thank you very much. Oh, I forgot, for the benefit of our recording secretary, we'll do quick introductions on our voice. She probably knows them by now, but let's do it to be smart.
Yep.
This is Ian Magnuson, co-chair, last meeting.
Sharon Deaver, co-chair.
David Benak, member. Jim Eliwish, member.
Steve Romanelli, member.
Thomas Dewhurst, member.
Rachel Yondel, member. Gail Walter, member.
And Bobby Glasser, member.
Excellent, thank you, everybody. Moving to announcements. Does anybody have announcements or any interesting tidbits that they picked up in the last month? That's kind of space for more casual stuff.
I do have an opportunity for anybody who wants to take advantage of it. The Portage Public Schools Summer Program,
Cool.
they're looking for somebody, super short notice tomorrow. It can be, they can do it, you can do it virtually. It doesn't have to be in person. But somebody talk about water quality.
Cool.
So it's if anybody's interested, let me know, but it's at 10:45 to 11:15, and then again at 1 to 1:30.
All right.
So it's 2 times, and, you know, it is short notice, but you can just hop on your computer.
If someone wants to get connected, how would they best do
It,
that?
just shoot me an email,
Alright.
and I'll send you the person's information with all the details.
Okay.
Cool.
Yep.
So you can contact Dave Benak, and if not, we do have a front door email now, environment@kalamazoocity.org. I'll check that tonight, just in case anybody comes in and forward it on that way, so. All right, with nothing else then, we could do public comments. We'll do that momentarily. So the one procedural item we have today is to discuss future chair duties. And so 2 things. Number 1, due to our bylaws and ordinances, I think we should just do chair, vice chair, as is required. We've kind of been working on this co-chair thing, but it would require an ordinance change by the city commission to make that officially viable. I think it's worked for the last 6 months, so if you guys want to pursue that, that's your thing. And then I just want to talk quickly about what the duties are, if anybody's interested. And then, so the main thing is the chair kind of manages the front door email for folks, puts together the meeting agenda in conjunction with the vice chair, but chair has, I guess, final say, and follows up with minutes, any requests. I would say on average it's a couple hour a month commitment outside of the general meeting time. And so that's kind of what the duties have been for me for the last 6 months, and you can kind of divvy those up with whoever is interested in vice chair as well. So do we have anybody interested in the chair position?
You know, I just wanted to backtrack.
Yes,
We
please.
need to take care of this business item. We approve the agenda, but not the minutes.
Yes, thank you.
Please.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Skipped right over it.
Just to-
Okay.
Just to do it.
Yes, thank you both.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So, Sharon and I didn't know that we needed to approve minutes in April, even though we didn't have quorum. So did anybody have any notes on April minutes? I didn't have any myself.
I've got just a couple of really small things
Yes.
for the subcommittee report.
Please.
So, under the wildlife and natural resource protection, I talked about the peregrine falcon chicks, and then it says still waiting for response from the application, and it really should be clarified, the urban bird treaty application, because it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Right.
And then in the next, down under tree committee, my name is Miss Bell.
That's a good one to catch.
So just very small things in April.
All righty. Good catches. Anything else on April? All right, motion to approve April minutes with the, modifications.
So moved.
Sharon first, Gail second, thank you, all in favor? Aye, all right, unanimous, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, moving on to May, any notes in the May agenda that we need to modify?
So spelling error on the last page.
There,
Just someone's name. I don't know if that matters to the public comment, but.
okay. Yeah, 'cause, they just listen to the notes, and then there's the voice recording and make the updates. If we have it, we can pop it in at the end. Anything else besides that?
I have a couple of other ones under, again, subcommittee reports.
Okay.
The first one, Natural Features Protection Review Board, the last sentence, I believe, should read, generally, they make recommendations until applicants, blah, 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 general.
Good catch.
And then, under Wildlife and Natural Resource Protection, Peregrine is misspelled.
Mm-hmm.
And then there should be like a second paragraph that talks about the Fish and Wildlife Service has requested revisions and clarifications. I am waiting to hear back on them, back from them on clarifications. There's clarifications in there like 400 times. And it should also specify that this is on the urban bird tree application, because it doesn't really state what this is talking about. And then under the Parks and Rec Advisory Board, second to the last sentence, it says the state of Michigan does not have a ban. And I think that means ban on alcohol.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Maybe they don't have a band either.
They might not.
Probably not.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
So anyway, a small, just, you know, not any context, but just small clarification.
Okay. So, Karen's listening, thank you, Karen, if you can help us take care of those, but, with those changes, can I get a motion to approve the May meeting minutes?
I'll move.
Gail first.
Second.
Jim second, all in favor? All right, unanimous, thank you, everybody. All right, okay, back to the business, thank you, good catch, and thank you, Karen, for all that work. Okay, also, I noticed I need to update the date on our agenda, it says February, sorry. I caught my own mistake at least, so I get points for that, right?
Oh, that's weird. This one's good.
Oh, I must have grabbed a old one or something. Well, we'll go with Sharon's then, so never mind. I made no mistakes, left that for the show. All right, so back to the chair discussion. Just, again, it's a couple hours a month on top of your meeting, thing. You help, run the meeting, and report on absences and all that good stuff. It's not too hard, though maybe we can talk about it at the subcommittee level. I may recommend that the chair doesn't have a subcommittee unless they absolutely want one, because it's quite a bit of work outside of doing that.
Yeah,
So
fair enough.
you guys can decide on that, that's off my table, but, yeah, so is anybody interested in being chair?
I'll say I'm interested.
I nominate.
Yeah, right. Any discussion, any questions for Sharon? What are some of your priorities, Sharon, as chair?
Well, I don't mind staying on the Asylum Life Policy Management Council. I'm vice chair there, and it's really not a lot of work outside of going to those meetings, and
Cool.
sometimes when I am free volunteering in their other efforts, so I don't really mind that.
All right.
Schedule.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I mean, I'd love to see a lot of things in the next year and a half before I go, so, maybe some extra side things, but, I don't know, do you want me to present things?
No, I just, no, off the cuff right now. Okay, well, I support Sharon's, chairpersonship as well.
You betcha.
Yeah. So, we don't have any further discussion, I guess we can, motion to approve Sharon's ascension to the chair.
Throne, you mean?
The throne, yes. I'll lead off, I'll first that one.
Okay, I'll second.
All right, Jim, all in favor of Sharon being our next chairperson? All right, it's unanimous, thank you, Sharon.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Yes. And so it's not an absolute must that we have to decide this right now, but, if there's anybody interested in the vice chair position. It's a good preparation, because you learn the back and forth, but there's not really much to it as well, presuming the chair's doing
Yeah,
anything.
maybe especially, I might add, somebody that's not in their second half of their second term.
That's a good point.
It's
Right.
just a consideration, because it will give that individual time to work up to whatever.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah. But don't have to decide right now, but
Anyone interested?
anyone interested, yeah. The main other duty I should mention is if the chair can't make a meeting, then the vice chair.
Sure.
That's the most important duty.
I've maybe missed one in 4 years.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
no
same here,
worries
same here.
there.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Well, table that for future discussion, keep it on your radar.
Okay.
Yeah, we got plenty of new members, and we'll have space for one more, so maybe that's something to
Mm-hmm.
think about. So, all right, that went a little quicker than I expected. So I think we're a little ahead of, where we were gonna be for, I would like to, but, we need our last member for that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we will check for public comments as soon as our liaison is back from checking with IT about a thing. So maybe to start with, we can, start with Justin, if you'd like to join us at the table here. And if you want to just kind of introduce yourself. Sure. Talk a little bit about your role, and maybe some of your priorities or what you see as a priority, within the city.
Yeah, so Justin Gish, I am the sustainability planner for the city of Kalamazoo as of May 1st, so almost 2 months now.
All right.
Basically, hired on, the big kind of job is to make sure that the CSP doesn't just sit there and kind of decompose, make sure it gets enacted. And then I'm working with neighborhood groups, community gardens, all types of stuff. So it runs the gamut from, solar panels one day to deer-proof community gardens the next. So it's exciting. I'm interested. Prior to this, I worked Western at the Office for Sustainability as a project manager there, and then the Southwest Michigan Land Conservancy. Then here I am working on a PhD in science education with a focus on environmental worldviews. So in my free time, I go away at that. Priorities, big kind of personal one that seems to get folks excited as well as municipal composting. It's kind of been a hobby of mine for a while. I compost a lot at home. That's not really in the plan, so a lot of it's going to be getting Kalamazoo to net zero carbon emissions by 2050 or sooner. Yeah, I guess, municipal, either at the city or the county level, composting would be great. Get more solar panels, improving for public transportation, it's kind of all over, So right now, just kind of figuring it all out, following the plan and trying to hit those key performance indicators. Do a bit of GIS too. I don't know if you all need anything from me. I get business cards too I can hand out, but happy to serve. I serve on a similar board in Portage, the environmental board there, so I'm sympathetic to the interactions between boards and city employees. Yep. So I get it.
How does your position and Jamie McCarthy's position overlap or interdigitate? I know you're there for, to take a lot of the workload off of just that one individual, and so how does that get divvied up?
Yep, I do everything in neighborhood, community, and for the neighborhood plans and the sustainability plan, Jamie's just gonna focus now on brownfields. She's my supervisor, but it'd be more brownfield type stuff, NFP type stuff, and then I will get to everything else, which,
Okay.
her and Nolan were sharing, if you know Nolan, the community planner. They shared that as well, so now it's all kind of coming to me. New plans too, so I'll try to get municipal composting off the ground and things like that, but, take some pressure off Jamie and Nolan, and then, see what I can do.
Do you see some opportunity for collaboration with Western? I mean, they're a huge footprint in town and.
When you say Western, I know I was doing the greenhouse gas emissions.
Right.
Maybe some other time I'll.
Oh, I meant more figuratively, but absolutely.
Western's funny. I came from the Office for Sustainability, with kind of this insular unit that uses student dollars to do student projects. I think there's movement there. Pressure always comes from the top at Western. And if facilities doesn't want it to happen, it doesn't happen. So trying to get facilities on board and working with that. But I mean, the relationship there I have with the Sustainability Office and some of the other folks, I think there's definitely room to collaborate. But I'm excited to work with Western.
I have a question for, I guess, when community sustainability plan was happening, and we talked about transparency and stuff, what is the current plan for updating the public in general and also us in general, maybe as a outlet?
Yeah,
Is there already a structure that you have been,
a loose structure, so we're gonna revamp the website, the city's sustainability website. I'm putting together a newsletter that should go out monthly to kind of update folks and keep folks kind of aware of what's going on. The plan's tricky and, you know, is intentionally written this way, like there's not a lot of benchmarks, but there are those key performance indicators, so once those are hit, you know, those will be advertised, you know, for lack of a better word. But as far as progression to those, figure something out. You wanna know? Yeah.
yeah, I guess, I can't remember what we had talked about, but I think we were hoping for a certain amount of, like, every few months or something, maybe quarterly. It'd be awesome to have in-person updates potentially, if that's, feasible.
Yeah, I mean, updates on, yeah, well, yeah, I'm happy to do it. What I need to know is updates on what. So just saying updates on the plan.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and I don't know where I'll be working from one day to the next on what project. So, yeah, well, if we figure something out that we can all agree with, yeah, I'm happy to do it, yeah. I mean, you need to know what's going on, yeah.
Yeah, big thing, so, kind of related to that, we have, Gene reports on our wellhead protection program and water
Yeah.
quality stuff on usually about a quarterly basis, and, you know, in terms of like what to report on, I think, I can't speak for Sharon, but I think we agree on a lot that, I think we're very interested in seeing the needle move as quick as possible since the plan took a long time to put together, and, maybe you already know this, but, most of the recommendations this committee made with regard to modifications to the plan were wholeheartedly ignored. And that included, we wanted to make your position a director level position. So we kind of had more barriers to clear, and, that was partially based on the difficulty that the previous, EDI director, saw and why she left. And I know that position's been filled, but, I think, yeah, a big thing we're gonna be interested in is, hearing about those shovel-ready projects that Jamie was kind of proposed, or kind of championing as the plan was getting adopted. So, you know, I guess the cadence will be figured out, and, you know, like you said, you're only, 6 weeks on the job so far, something like that.
Yeah.
But, I think, yeah, we'll definitely be interested in kind of progress and targets as you see them, going forward. And, you know, we're, as you well know from your Portage experience, we are just an advisory committee, so, you know, you being a educator and a future educator, I think will be a really useful, talent in your role, so I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe if nothing else, we could commit to seeing you at least in like August or September, to just kind of see where things are going, and, then figure out a cadence after that.
Right. And even though it's not exactly what we wanted, I think I see your position being filled as part of city support for the climate crisis emergency, you know, that this group was very instrumental in getting, along with, of course, the overwhelming support of our citizens. That is a good, there are benchmarks in there that I think cross into what you're gonna be doing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with the plan that you're familiar with, I mean, it says carbon neutral, you know, or net zero by 2050, but it
Sure.
doesn't really say how necessarily, or
Agreed.
when
Right.
you should be, you know, halfway, or,
And besides the fact that that's too late.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well-
I know you're,
Right on, yeah.
Just
you can say what you say.
along those lines, I'd like to, urge you to work with us as much as possible, because it's, you know, we have a pretty wide range of neighborhoods represented, different, groups, different social networks. And, you know, we've got people, everybody here is really committed to the things that you're trying to accomplish.
yeah,
So we could really be a good way for you to get, you know, people in the community and support and funnel information back to you.
yeah,
It'd be a good way for you to, get outside the bubble of City Hall.
yeah,
Yeah, and I think that having that citizen input on what you're doing will, and that's really all we can do is provide citizen
Yeah, yeah.
input.
you already gave me too much credit, I'm on Rose Street. I don't,
Well,
Yeah.
you know,
yeah, no, I got you, yeah.
yeah, and I think that would really give you a the ability to see what people
Mhm.
in the community are most concerned about.
Yeah, I've met with quite a few neighborhood groups too, yeah, so that's a big part of my role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
National Night Out, all these things, so yeah, it definitely won't be kind of cloistered away. But yeah, knowing that you all are willing to help and have a special project or some research I can throw your way, that'd be great.
Yeah, and I think we could be a really good resource and, help you get connected with the people you want to talk to.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
Yeah, and if I can kind of echo that, one thing that, Jamie and I talked about in, I think it was January, February,
Mhm.
we were talking about the public comment feedback mechanism that was used for the community sustainability plan before it was adopted.
Mhm.
Personally, I thought it was very confusing, and I have a master's degree, so like, if it's confusing to me, what's the average person thinking? And so, because, as David said, we're public facing and work with so many other groups, one thing I would, recommend, and that's all I can do, but is, when there are points in which you're looking for public feedback, we would love to see that beforehand and provide feedback on the mechanism and the process before deploying it at the city level, so that we can get a more robust feedback mechanism that feels more valid than, like I said, I'm not a fan of what happened, and, I know it was developed with the best of intentions, but I think, we could be a good sounding board for those kinds of things.
Yeah.
I hope you consider us.
The last part that you said, I think, is really important. I think a lot of people aren't happy with the feedback, on city plans in general, the way it exists.
Yeah.
But if we could facilitate talking to the community and saying, hey, make input in this way and it makes a difference, I think you could get more input and it would be more useful.
Mhm.
And just for your knowledge, though we are an advisory-only board, we do, except for tonight, we do have a commissioner who usually sits in our meetings, and Commissioner Hess is pretty good about what happens here. There is an avenue that our recommendations certainly do get attention at the commissioner level, and just so you know that, what happens here does get heard by our commissioners.
Yeah, yep, I met with Commissioner S, yeah, there's a
Very good.
close champion if I've
Yeah.
ever met one.
Right on,
Yeah.
right on, so, yeah.
Any additional comments, questions?
Can we tentatively plan for September?
Sure, yeah, I mean, who knows what life throws at me, but yeah,
If you know, yeah,
yeah.
we can switch it, obviously.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, with kids and school in the evening, but no, I'm happy to talk,
If
yeah.
August is easier, we can do
August
that,
might be
too.
easier, but I don't know what will get done, I don't know if I'll have greenhouse
Yeah.
gas emissions. That's what I am working on now, and I mean, I'll share some of that info to the email, community-wide greenhouse gas emissions and then citywide, so I'm crunching numbers now. Yeah,
Even
so
if it's in draft form, even something like that, I think
Yeah.
would be helpful,
Mhm.
just so that we know on a periodic basis what's happening.
Yeah, yeah, I can get you numbers soon for sure,
I'll look.
but yeah.
You mentioned the newsletter that you want to do. I guess also I've seen how some of the things go for how, the mailing list, I guess, that you would get for that. So what, how would you, I guess, put that out? Would that be, like an email newsletter?
Yeah,
And
it's
is
gonna
there
be
like
email
a
newsletter through
sign up
MailChimp.
that people can like
Yep.
add on to?
Yeah, folks would sign into it. I don't know what the rules are. I'm still working with communications here on if we can borrow other newsletters or people have, or lists, or if people have to sign up for it. But,
Yeah.
yeah, it'd be similar to what Parks sends out, just through MailChimp or something like that, so.
And maybe we could even look at getting a, like, dedicated page on the view from the curb, that's this, like quarterly
Quarterly.
periodic.
Yeah,
that's what I-
That'd be a good.
That's
Yeah.
just what I was thinking as well, because that's mailed out to every resident.
Correct.
And there'd be a lot of people who'd be interested just to say, oh, I know about recycling and household hazardous waste and fall leaf pickup, but what else are we doing to push along our, embrace our responsibility as a city?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And maybe like a form, since you said you're updating the website too, that people can, sign up for the newsletter
Yeah.
that way,
Yep.
like the other list.
Yeah, at all these events too.
Mhm.
Left the QR code
Exactly.
down there.
Cool.
Cool.
Thank you, Justin.
Yeah.
Give our regards to the Portage,
Yeah,
Department.
yeah, we meet the week
Committee.
before, so.
Alrighty. All right.
Thank
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. Jean, before we move to Devin, can we do a public comment check?
I was just gonna ask.
Wonderful.
If anyone's online, this would be a time to call.
Good catch. No
Okay.
one's on, all right. One Facebook comment from someone I know very well saying, thank you to me for my hard work.
All right.
Kind of an uncomfortable one to read into the record, but.
But you did. Congratulations.
Yeah, so I'll pat myself on the back. Thank you, Haley. Much appreciated. All right, I think it's time to talk about community solar. Devin, would you like to join us?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, please have a seat wherever, and then, we'll see if we can get this visual going, would be awesome.
He is shared as a co-host.
Okay.
He needs to go on his computer and find the share button.
Oh, there you go.
Jean, you were on top of it today. This is awesome. Thank you. So Devin, before we start, if you want to give a quick introduction, who you are, why you're here, and, what you're about to tell us about.
Yes, so thank you for that, Ian. My name is Devin Kelly. I'm a recently graduated student from Western Michigan University. I studied economics and leadership business strategy, graduating with a business degree, and my honors thesis was a climate and renewable energy focused one because I'm really interested and passionate in that space. I was kind of underneath the economics department at Western, but very geography and business sustainability focus. So I'm here, I've been in contact with Ian and Sharon for a few months talking about this, and as well as Jamie McCarthy and others within the city of Kalamazoo, seeing if I could be an impactful student and researcher for future renewable energy development in the city of Kalamazoo. So that was pretty good.
Yeah.
I can go ahead and start. This is my honors thesis, and this is the defense presentation that I had and I'll be giving to you today. And the title, which is very long, but it's a GIS and economic analysis in solar electricity generation siting within the greater Kalamazoo area, and it's all ground-mounted solar siting. And there are some of my committee members are listed as well. But to start, I want to talk about the motivation. I talked a little bit about it already, but there's three main reasons I undertook this research. Number one, obviously, there's evident need. Climate change, global warming, and in Michigan, we need to transition our energy generation sources from dirty energy, coal, natural gas, to cleaner energy for many reasons, but also that consumers' energy has been quoted as looking for a mass amount of land for utility-scale solar power plants to add 8,000 megawatts, which is a ton of energy, of utility-scale solar energy by 2040, and they're looking across West Michigan for land that's flat, open, treeless, proximate to existing transmission infrastructure. So I was hoping in my research to be able to help them do that, or other stakeholders to look for said land. Also, with the Kalamazoo Community Sustainability Plan, which Justin is taking some project management of, the goal, accelerate local renewable energy investments, really caught my eye, and I wanted to help in any way possible. So sub-action within that overarching goal is to develop decision support tools, suitability assessment, maps, and guides, and that's what my research is about, having that multiple maps and guides to help in the decision-making for future solar investments. And lastly, career path, as I said, very passionate about this topic, and I was talking to Ian earlier, I'm working for one of the largest manufacturers of wind turbines out in Portland, Oregon, so very excited to contribute to the fight against global warming. All right, so first, my hypothesis and expected outcome of this research. Hypothesis is that there's underutilized potential within the greater Kalamazoo area that could be used for solar electricity generation siting. The results of my analysis was that there is available that is attractive for solar siting, and I hope that this information helps decision makers, City of Kalamazoo Environmental Concerns Committee, develop policies to encourage a more expedient and economical transition to solar. And the products of my analysis are maps and a comprehensive analysis of the highest potential siting locations for solar projects.
you may answer this, I'm just kind of curious, and I apologize for
Yeah.
interrupting, but, did part of your data collection also include whether or not the land is readily available? Meaning it's not privately owned?
That was not a part of mine.
Okay.
So much of it is,
So,
it's a long-term view of like transitioning, buying it from, private stakeholders.
okay,
Yes,
thank you.
yes. Although at the end, there is a point where I look at land that is owned by the city of Kalamazoo already
Okay,
and see where that fits into the entire.
thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. And this, on the right-hand side, is just a sneak peek of what this map, the site potential map looks like. The dark green areas being the ones found to be the most, having the most potential for solar siting in all of Kalamazoo County. Pictured is Kalamazoo County in that rectangle.
It's almost a road map, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is.
See, like Gulf Road over there.
Yeah,
I believe that's because like transmission lines follow some of the roads.
the population.
Right off.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna skip over some of the analytical approach, some of the academic nitty-gritty. But one thing I did want to mention is at the bottom of this page, there's regulatory barriers based on parcel sizes that could be expected to be faced for solar development, and that's because Consumers Energy has regulatory power deciding whether or not a project could be interconnected and even created based on how big it is. So smaller, 0 kilowatt, 250 kilowatt projects have very minimal barriers, but as you go higher and higher in the megawatt or kilowatt generation, you get higher regulatory barriers because you have to account for intermittency of that interconnection of solar and interconnection in general. And these classes will be kept in like often quoted throughout the rest of the slides. So the most important part of this research for the results obtained, and I'll go through those now. First is the suitable zone. So throughout all of Kalamazoo County, pictured on the left, wanted to find what land was even suitable or potential or possible for instituting solar projects. So took all kinds of infrastructure, geographic considerations, land use of structures, and then also like a 10 3/4 mile radius outside of the city center, as well as wetlands and potential wetlands and lakes that make land not suitable for construction or developing solar projects.
Can I ask just a question?
Yes.
The 10 3/4 mile radius, is that a local ordinance, or what is that?
That's kind of arbitrary, that I thought that anything outside of that range would be so expensive and there's so much energy loss as you're transmitting the electricity that it wouldn't be effective
Okay.
for
great.
siting outside of that zone.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And then from all those unsuitable zones, we have the suitable zone in dark gray. It might be kind of hard to see there, but as you can see, like around 6 or so miles outside of the city center, you start to get a lot of land that becomes suitable for development of ground-mounted solar projects due to the fact that a lot of it's agricultural land, non-developed. In the city center, it's obviously very developed, so it'd be hard to institute projects there. And at the bottom, there's just some calculations which go towards my hypothesis that out of the entire square footage of the 10 3/4 mile radius outside of the city center of Kalamazoo, almost 37% of that would be technically suitable for instituting solar projects. Now, there's criteria that were on one of the slides that were passed. As you said, some of that is private land, some of it can be conserved land, which is kind of a harder data point to find all the conservatories in the Kalamazoo County. But technically, in the long term, 36%, almost 37% is suitable in that radius around the city center.
Does your criteria for suitability perhaps include a developed piece of land with roof mounted? If there's already buildings there, is that part of suitability or no?
No,
This
just
is
ground.
undeveloped land only?
Yes.
Okay,
So all-
thank you.
All structures have like a 75-foot radius around them
Okay,
where it was unsuitable
sure.
for this.
Okay, thank you,
Yes, you're welcome.
thank you.
Yeah, that's actually too bad, because rooftop solar is like really should be the focus,
Yes.
and not taking habitat that is not developed,
Mhm.
because that is one of our biggest concerns is habitat loss.
Yeah.
So it looks like all the developed areas
Mhm.
are, from your perspective, are not suitable, and you're looking at developing
Mhm.
habitat.
Yeah.
You're taking habitat and developing it for this.
Yeah, when I started this research, I thought that ground mounted was a lot cheaper than roof mounted, just because of the scale that you could build. This was like utility scale. It's hard to build utility scale rooftop. So I was hoping if you could do like one project, minimize the loss to the environment, to habitat, then it would be nice to do one big project instead of trying to do 20+ smaller rooftop projects. But I did do some research afterwards and found that it is similar in cost to do roof mounted versus ground mounted. So that's future research that could be undertaken, pushed to Western Michigan University students to look at roof mounted solar. That was just an assumption that I kind of like, oh, at the end, I'm like, dang, I did not realize it was like that much similar in cost.
Yeah, we're looking
Yeah.
at brownfield development.
Yes, and I did include brownfield developments, but, as you'll see at the end, they're in the areas that were already developed. There's a lot of like, those are factory lands that were downtown Kalamazoo. But we'll look at that later.
Okay.
And then just also here, from the total acreage of all the suitable land and using a rule of thumb used in renewable energy industry, found that there's 8,014 total megawatts possible if every square foot of land, obviously that's not realistic or wanted by anyone, but just showing that there's a lot of potential megawatt generation for solar projects, which is eerily similar to the 8,000 that Consumers Energy is looking for all of its service areas.
Just out of curiosity, what was the benchmark, like, year for, like, solar technology, since it's getting slightly more efficient every year, and something, like, where did you decide, like, this is what the average solar panel generates, or whatever, just out of curiosity?
That was, so I talked with multiple people at Consumers Energy. I'm a renewable energy manager, and that was the rule of thumb. It was for every 10 acres equals 1 megawatt potential generation. That's kind of the rule of thumb, but I guess I didn't ask what the benchmark was for the technological advancement.
No, you answered the
Yeah.
question, thanks.
So for step number 2 of the project, it is figuring out which land has more potential or less potential for siting solar. So what makes land better or not for solar, proximity to transmission lines, substations, parcel sizes within the classifications that I talked about, annual global horizontal and radiant, how much solar energy hits a parcel of land on any given year on average, among other things. And then this is that finalized with all of the evaluation criteria added of the solar siting potential. And then I have like a few slides in the addenda, appendix that show the crisscrossing electricity transmission lines, and that's where those really dark green areas are. Because it's very easy to interconnect, and that's one of the most difficult parts of doing a solar project is the cost that you can have with interconnecting to the grid. And then here are some of the integrated results. So the most suitable, or the suitable land with the potential of each parcel of suitable land in this upper left-hand corner. So every parcel that is even suitable for solar development now has its relative potential for being interconnected to generating the most amount of energy, et cetera. And then the top siting potential locations in the suitable zone, which is filtering out all of the lower potential areas for sites that could be really focused in on by the city, and then also broken out by each of those class sizes, depending on how big of a project, how much of a regulatory barrier the developer or the city wants to try to overcome. And then here are some of those synergistic results that I was talking about earlier. In the brown hexagons, we have the brownfield locations, and then in the orange, we have the land that is owned by the city of Kalamazoo. So we're looking for overlaps of the green with the orange or the brown. And as you can see, there's not many that overlap the green with the brown, but quite a few areas highlighted with the black circles that have green overlapping the orange. So land that is technically free for the city of Kalamazoo to institute ground-mounted solar, they would just have to pay for the actual solar panels and installation. That's also duplicated on this end for the top siting potential locations.
Are those mostly used as well fields and future well fields?
Honestly, I did not look into the
Oh,
data
that's
source.
okay. I was just
Yeah,
curious.
the
if
data
that
source
came
that I
up.
had didn't tell me exactly what they were used for, but that could be looked at further. Could be like the water treatment plants, which is uses a lot of land, and you could put solar panels on the rooftop and it uses a lot of energy too, or in the areas surrounding the water treatment plants. And then this blue circle, it's just one of the practical uses of these maps and guides. So this area is highlighted because it's a large area with high solar siting potential. And I just went on Google Maps to try to find this area of land, and I saw that it was, as you can see, it looks like it's agricultural land. It looks like it's right now farmland, some forested areas, south of I-94 and east of I-94. That in the future, maybe not now, because these are farmers who really contribute to, the food demand in the area, or aren't ready to sell, or it's just not feasible for them to sell their land, or even needed from the city for them to want to do so, or land that could be conserved in the future. But this is useful as a source to look long-term, that this is very suitable land because there are transmission lines that make it easy. It gets a lot of solar energy each year, among other factors.
Figure a farm is next to a high solar concentrated.
Yeah.
Important ingredient to a plant.
Yes,
Yeah.
very much so. And then, just to reiterate, these are the main outputs of my research. All of the parcels of land with their potential scoring in the suitable zone, and then the top siting locations. And then conclusion, which I'll go over quickly, unutilized potential within the Greater Kalamazoo area, with that over 37% is suitable, technically suitable using my factors and indicators. That yes, there seems to be underutilized potential, and if there's available land that is attractive for solar siting. This is a new table, but it shows the relative ranking of potential of each parcel of land and the total parcel of land. So almost 70% from 3 to 4. Almost 70% of the land is ranked 3 to 4 out of 5 as attractiveness for solar siting. So there is available land that is attractive for solar siting. So we can put a nice green check mark there. And then finally, products that were shown are those maps that could be used into the future. And these are some future considerations. As I said, future research, economics of rooftop versus ground-mounted solar. And then also, this was brought up by my professor, but integrating land conservation with clean energy projects. So if you could do clean energy projects in a sustainable way to also maintain the habitat and really integrate the integral benefits of the land with generating energy, that could be a really impactful research topic. Yes, that is my presentation. Thank you all for listening. I hope that it was beneficial and learned a bit.
Oh, it's excellent. Real good use of GIS and kind of funneling down just an incredible amount of data too. To make it visually, it's good to have visual presentation for sure. And it's a lot of food for thought, and I hope that this can kind of, make its way to our sustainability coordinator and to the city to, just like, oh, this is really interesting. What can we do with this?
Yes, I hope so.
No, I haven't, and I serve I know your advisor, so, yeah, I mean, yeah, great. That's fun.
Well, nice job, Devin. That was a great presentation, a lot of hard work in there. And, interestingly, Dr. Beasley was very briefly a member of this committee for a second. So we do know him a little bit too, so.
Yep.
Yeah, well, that's been distributed to the committee, and
Yeah.
obviously, we can stay in touch if anything works. But, I guess my last question for you would be, what was some of the feedback you got during your defense? What were some of the questions beyond the one that you highlighted at the end there?
It was about the cost and benefits of transitioning agricultural land to solar projects. Also, I think I also got some questions about like impacts on the land, and on the habitats surrounding that land from the implementation of the solar projects, as well as like, yeah, I guess transporting electricity from other sources, or consumers' energy, taking that energy, and developing solar projects or other renewable energy projects outside of the greater Kalamazoo area, and then just funneling that into the city of Kalamazoo.
Right.
But as I said, there's like energy loss, so it's less economical to do so.
I was wondering, I guess, what, from consumers' point of view, requirements you based off of your project on as well?
Yeah.
Like rooftops, makes it maybe a little bit harder for them because that's clearly already privately owned. But what were the parameters from their point of view that you considered in this?
A lot of takeaways from I met with two individuals from consumers, was that the proximity to the infrastructure, the transmission lines, was the biggest cost inhibitor.
Interesting.
It's like, I don't know if you said a number, but you might have said like on one of their projects, it was $1,000 per foot to get to the transmission line. That added to the project. So you have to be very close to the transmission lines to make it economical, if there's not already like interconnection. But yes, they did like kind of push me. I had mentioned rooftop, I believe, in one of their calls, but they wanted the utility scale, so it's not at the point source. But no matter where, or no matter whether it's rooftop or ground mounted, the regulatory barriers that I mentioned still apply. So even if, like I brought up, putting rooftop solar at the water treatment plant, which is one of the biggest uses of energy by the city of Kalamazoo, and it was, nope, once you go over 75 kilowatts, then, or 750 kilowatts, then that medium regulatory barrier is hit, and consumers' energy could stop it.
Well, last question, maybe it's outside your expertise, but, so, we're talking a lot about proximity to, from generation to usage. I don't think there's any power plants in that circle that we're looking at currently, and I mean, most of our energy is generated widely outside of that. Does that mean that we're generating a lot more than we actually use at endpoint because of transmission loss?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't know how much is lost exactly, but I know no matter which kind of transmission lines, there's two different ones, HVDC, high voltage, direct voltage, or, high current direct voltage, I think. Maybe I'm currently mixing it up now. But yes, that is better than AC lines for long distance transmission.
Back to the Nikola Tesla versus Westinghouse dilemma.
Right.
Way better,
Yeah.
Like them underneath the, consumer's power right away. So you've got the big transmission lines going, you've got the right of way anyway that you can't do anything else with. Just plop them down there, because they keep it clear, so you got sun coming in, and it'll be really close, and, land that's not being used for anything else.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, just run them right along underneath all the high transmission lines.
Yeah.
There you go, there's your next project.
Did consumers kind of put a low threshold, like less than an acre and a half, we wouldn't be interested? I mean, what was their feedback on small size?
So they want to do as big of a size project as possible.
Okay.
They came to the city of Kalamazoo, actually. I talked to Jamie about this, McCarthy, and she said they were looking for 100+ acre plots of land where they could site solar.
That's a lot of land.
Yeah, she said, yeah, we don't have that sort of land, in one specific area.
Right.
So that was why, like, this is more focused towards like third-party developers, because consumers want the economies of scale of those huge projects to be able to do it.
So 10-acre plots does not equal one contiguous 100-acre plot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
The use of that much land might become fairly unpopular with a big percentage of the population.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things they do in Arizona, which is really popular, is the small malls who have a parking lot, say, 100 yards by 100 yards. They cover the parking lot with the solar panels. And when it rains, somehow the water is shunted off, so you got an umbrella. But most of the problem out there in Arizona is the hot parking lot in the hot sun.
Yeah.
And it acts as a perfect shade, and at the same time, that electricity, the solar power, is used primarily to run all the air conditioning and lights and all that in that mall. And so you get rid of the problem of the loss of megawatts over distance. So I'm thinking, I know consumers is interested in these kinds of projects. What might turn out to be a little more practical, at least right away, and more popular, and less resistance from people, is Arizona type of use of solar. So that's just another thing to keep in mind. Because it's really popular out there.
I've heard of that, it's really practical.
Oh, yeah.
You've already got an area that's
Yeah, everybody fights for the covered
impermeable surface, so why not get some shade out of it?
Right.
And we don't have to deal with the immoral case of living in the middle of the dang desert, but
Yeah.
that's a separate issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just have to think about, snow removal and, a little bit differently than they do, so.
Well, that's one thing, yes, that's right. I was gonna ask you, how do consumers deal with snow removal? Other than build them all with slab?
That's a good point.
I know that's one of the, like, cost of maintenance of solar parks, solar farms, is, maintaining them throughout the winter, making sure that they are, like, cleared off, and it's like if the sun's beating on them too much, like, they have to be replaced every few years. So yeah, I'm not certain about that, but I know that usually it does have to be cleared off by someone, I think, solar farms.
Okay.
Yeah.
A big brush.
100 acres, that's hard to imagine, isn't it?
Yeah.
Carrying 100 acres of panels, yeah.
There's one on I-94 that's just north of 94, or, just west of I-69 interchange. And it's at least 100.
Turkeyville,
Maybe 200. Big, yeah.
Well, as I'm sure you'll,
Just going up now.
I'm sure as you'll work on in your new job, Michigan's pretty ripe for wind power as well.
Yeah.
But anyway, we've, hit time, so thank you so much,
Yeah,
Devin,
thank
for
you
your.
very much.
I
Thank you.
really
Thank you all for having me.
appreciate it. Yeah, appreciate it. And, best wishes on your future endeavors.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, cool. I just wanted to post, because I have it open, my ego got in the way. Haley also congratulated Sharon on, chairperson appointmentship. And then, Iris Potter also said congratulations as well. So, I think we can move on to, see if there's any updates regarding Asylum Lake and our air quality, challenges. It's probably underselling it, but, and then we'll move into subcommittee reports. So, I believe the, draft plan was just, the
Yes.
proposal to, well, Sharon, you take it.
The updated draft was just released less than a week ago, so I haven't dove in too much. Any chance anyone else has?
I have not.
I do hope that there is time to go over that next meeting before the, planning commission would make a vote, because it's potential we might want to make a motion again. So I have that list on my list as the agenda for next month.
Yep. And just to touch on that, on Thursday, June 29th at 6:30, the city's also gonna be doing a commercial zoning update meeting, and that'll be here at City Hall. So they have the info on Facebook, you can, follow along there if you want to. Thank you, Sharon. David, maybe if you have any updates regarding, our air quality situation?
Yeah, there's a few things going on. I think in one of the emails that Sharon sent out, stuff about, monitors. And so there's a group of people in the community working to try to get monitors installed at some of the KPS schools. There's 7 schools of high concern for KPS, but also into Parchment.
Yes.
There are 2 of especially high concern in KPS schools where the kids have been held in recess. They've even been sent home because it is so bad there. And so trying to get real monitors placed outside of the schools. Frankly, to put a monitor, the best possible monitor that exists in front of every single KPS building, which is 25 or 26 schools, would still cost less than the surveillance the city just approved last night. And I think it's probably more important to make sure that we're not breathing poison. And the other problem, and one of the issues there, is that the city and Eagle are currently focusing on H2S, hydrogen sulfide, which is a problem, a very big problem. Just today, one of the monitors hit 50, and remember 1.4 is the high, the level. Another one hit 10, and several of them spent hours at 4. So there's clearly graphic packaging does not care at all about this issue. But hydrogen sulfide is the gas that has the highest odor. So it is the one that probably causes the most public concern. But there are 50 gases that GPI releases, according to the EPA, that are listed as pollutants, many of which are substantially more toxic than hydrogen sulfide. And we're right now only measuring hydrogen sulfide. So that's one of the reasons we're working on getting these monitors, so we can get a better range of measurements. Hopefully get them in several schools because that, or in front of the schools, because that would give us data points across the city, so we'd be able to make better comparisons. It's really bad here, it's not so bad there. Different topography, different vegetation could affect that. So that's where a lot of that work is going right now. Interestingly, there is a new Smithsonian Institution project, which could be very useful. It's called TEMPO, T-E-M-P-O. I'm not sure when it's going to come online, I think maybe next year, but it is using satellite technology in cooperation with NASA, and we'll be able to give nationwide, near real-time, probably, it looks like some of the data updates 3 or 4 times a day, so it's still pretty good. That could measure many of the pollutants of concern. Not all of them, but certainly far more than we have. I'm watching it. I sent in a form to be an early adopter to their user group. So I don't know what that will entail and if using it at scale, like we'd like to do, would be a cost. With Smithsonian producing it, I think there's a good chance it's probably free because all the Smithsonian stuff is free for systems. So that's a big thing. One other thing on this note, the group that is behind collecting signatures to get the ranked choice voting on the ballot in Kalamazoo, that group is trying to create civic engagement and civic communities, and they're going to start having a series of public meetings that are talk and conversation. The first of those is on the 24th.
This Saturday?
Correct, this Saturday. And this is relevant because I will be doing a presentation about the importance of citizen involvement in air quality activism. So anybody who wants to come, that's the 24th, that's this Saturday, 11 a.m., First Congregational Church.
Question for you, David. Where would the funding come for the KPS monitors?
Great question.
And what would it be per school?
This is also a good question. We've got a couple, we're trying to get quotes.
Okay.
The sensors we're looking at are high-end scientific instruments. Not exactly custom built, but darn near. So for the most part, you cannot find the prices online. You have to call to get them. So we've got a couple requests in for quotes. But from what I have been able to piece together, it looks like the quality of monitor we need, because in order for it to be worth doing, it has to have a level of precision and a level of accuracy so that the measurements will hold up. We can take all the measurements in the world, but if they can just be tossed out because they're not either precise or accurate, then it doesn't help. So it looks like about 7,500 is the bottom end.
Okay.
From what I can tell, and kind of as a guess, I think it's probably about 10 grand per unit. Is what the realistic cost would be.
Would you want to share the name of that group that's trying to organize for KPS
Yep,
students?
it's the Kalamazoo Parents for Clean Air.
Kalamazoo Parents for
Yeah,
Clean Air.
and the group is on Facebook and Twitter.
Great. Yeah, and I remember a couple of years ago reading, I want to say it was in Vox, so if you want to try to confirm my source, but there was a big natural gas leak outside of LA within the past 15 years, and they saw a measured change on when they installed air purifiers in the school on students' learning outcomes because of the reduction in air pollution within there. So aside from the health aspect, there's also an educational component to it.
There's so many different ways it ties in. I mean,
Yeah.
if we look at the problem that we have with gun violence right now, there's a ton of research for decades that ties air pollution to violent behavior. You know, if we want to get, you know, so that it's systemic. I mean, we can't, it's not just this toxin causes cancer. That's part of it. But there's so many other things that are a result of living, you know, under constant pollution.
Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding with the surveillance thing that was passed was they kept calling it a pilot project. And if they can drop that kind of money on a pilot project, maybe we can drop that kind of money on public health initiatives.
Yeah.
No, the pilot program was already going, and this was the expansion of a 3-year contract for it.
I see.
Yeah, so if we had $10,000, 24 or 25 schools, still cost less than what.
$250,000.
Yeah, still less than what the state spent on the surveillance monitors.
And maybe even a cost share with the school district in the city or something like that, or the foundation.
Or we
Something
had,
like-
you know,
Yeah.
what
Could be, yeah.
I'm arguing is have Eagle send a bill to GPI if we can,
Fair point, yes. good
we've
point.
got, you know,
There's violations, so.
yeah, and there's the, compliance that they're under right now, and make that part of the fine. But that's wishful thinking.
Things don't work the way they should. Thank you for that thorough update, David. We'll obviously stay on this issue as we go forward. Any other thoughts, questions on that? No? Okay. So we'll move into subcommittee reports. We can lead off with Bobby on NFP Review Board.
Yeah, no new cases, so to speak. You know, we're still looking, it relates back up to the zoning update. NFP is essentially a zoning overlay. It's a zoning, right? It's an overlay, layer on the zoning map, and if your property lies within that zone, then those rules apply. So we're struggling with, you know, where does the NFP board, fit in with that, and zoning can change, that's part of long-term planning. The other thing we're struggling with, again, it's not case-specific, but it's the kind of the mission statement that has been put out, that the function of the board is to support development, and that term support development has really struck a chord, because the way we see it, the way the board, we believe the intent of that board is we play a part in development. It doesn't mean we're in favor of or against development. That's not the function and purpose of the board. The board is to essentially view the overlay, properties that fall in the overlay, and as as plans for development come into play, we look at the NFP rules, and yes, we work with developers in terms of a site when they want to seek a variance within that. Okay, you're gonna exceed the allowed amount of tree coverage you're going to do to get your development. I understand that, but you're gonna do something else, and that's part of the board's function. So that's what we're struggling with now. There was a vacancy on the board for a while. Mr. Paul McNellis stepped down after some time for some personal reasons, whatever, and we do now have an approved member, so we're back up to full capacity. That's NFP. Air and water quality, other than the current graphic packaging air issues, I am not aware of any new incidents or reports.
A recommendation, back in April to remove that change of language.
Correct.
It kind of violates the spirit of the whole board, as you eloquently just said.
Seemingly so.
Yes. Okay, wildlife and natural resource protection, Gail?
I can report, we have 4 peregrine falcon chicks that are terrorizing, downtown and attacking people on roofs. So if you or any of your loved ones have a reason to be on a roof in downtown, I recommend a hard hat. I definitely recommend, somebody got dive bombed on Radisson yesterday.
Wow, interesting.
And I don't know if anybody got hurt. I wasn't returned, but, anyway, so they all ended up getting grounded. We had 4 chicks in rehab all at once. We've got them all back in town now, and the longest broken week ever. It lasted 3 weeks. It was a very long week. So, anyway, I don't know of any other wildlife or natural resource concerns right now. And I can jump in.
What do you mean by they were grounded? Were they put in Falcon timeout or?
I was about ready to put them in. I put them in Falcon timeout for sure.
Okay,
They were like, yeah, guys they're a bunch of just juvenile delinquents. I'm gonna name them after Greek and Roman gods and goddesses, but now I think I'm gonna name them like Menace and
Troublemakers, yeah.
Calvin and Hobbes.
Thank you.
No, they were all weak flyers. They all ended up, on the ground, 2 of them on East Michigan.
I see what you mean, okay.
Yeah, and, they had to be rescued before they got out into traffic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Did I see that this was the first time that all 4 of them were in rehab at the same time, all of the chicks?
Yes, this was the first time that we had all 6 in rehab, and, we weren't sure. There's never been a problem getting them back and reuniting them with their family, but we've never had all 4 gone at once. And so my goal was to get at least one of them back as soon as we could, while the parents were still in parent mode. I didn't want to bring them back and have the parents say,
Sorry.
who's this or these?
Yeah,
Like,
right.
what are they doing here?
Right.
So, anyway, we managed to get in that window, bringing them back, and they were immediately accepted back by their parents, and so they're doing cool stuff. Yeah, just wear your hard hats.
Great. Tree committee?
Tree committee did not meet last month, or earlier this month. There was not a quorum, so we didn't.
Know how that goes.
I have a question for Gail.
Sure.
I don't know if I missed this last month, but you know the big grant that the city got for the trees and all that?
But they haven't gotten it yet, they just
They're
applied.
applying for one.
Right, applying for it,
Yeah.
right, thank you. That's gonna be able to be used for removing very dead trees, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, it's gonna entail the whole process, not just planting the trees.
right.
Correct.
It's trying to catch up on, a
Well-
backlog of canopy,
Right.
care.
Yeah,
You know,
there's a lot of big sticks up there.
Yeah, there's a lot of trees that are in hazardous condition, and so getting those
Okay,
out.
good, because I just took a little cruise around the city, and there's a lot of
Yeah,
dead
there is.
trees.
We got hit hard with storms this year, and that really,
Yeah, but these were dying before this happened.
yeah, and then the storm didn't help.
Right, sure, yeah, okay, thank you,
Yeah.
this was curious.
Yes, it'll be comprehensive
Thank you.
if they get it.
My planning commission update's quite short, but, so from their May meeting, they approved, graphic packaging, expanded their parking for, a couple hundred spaces, but they use them for heavy trucks. And then most of the other stuff were a couple, business concerns, nothing huge, and then moving from commercial zones, to residential, so maybe some more housing being built, so. And the Asylum Lake,
There was some talk about, water quality stuff that's been going on that seems pretty promising. Yeah. That's the main thing, takeaway. We have
the big, plan is in the works too, right, the
yeah, that's been approved and everything, so, there's also discussion about, who's championing that, to make that be a thing. So that, discussion of that started, and that's gonna wrap up by the next meeting probably.
Cool.
Also, should we talk about anyone else
Oh, yes,
interested
thank you.
to,
Yeah.
be the new planning commission liaison, which would be, yeah, just
It's a monthly thing,
updating us.
yeah, yeah. It's a monthly thing, they, broadcast from city commission chambers, so they're easy to catch up on if you can't make the actual meeting. They're pretty good about getting their minutes updated too. Right now,
When are the actual meetings?
remember what the schedule is off the top of my head. The most recent one was on the first of this month, so.
Is it the first Thursday then?
That could be actually, yeah. Well,
It's on the city website for
I
sure.
will look that up, as the people are talking. Rob's not here for Parks and Rec, but maybe if you wanna mention the signage situation, I don't know.
I
It's not
don't
really,
know enough about it right now, but I was, they asked us for a liaison, but I realized that Rob did give us an update, and so he's still going,
Okay.
even though Emily had been going, so, they have a new person on their board, I know, that's running those meetings, I believe.
thank you, then, I guess we'll talk about that later. Quickly on planning commission, so it is first Thursday, however, their next meeting is July 20th because of the, 4th of July holiday. But yeah, first Thursday
July
of the month
20th,
at 7
is it?
PM. Yes. 7 to 9 in commission chambers. David, anything on Kalamazoo River Watershed Council?
The only thing is they have, one of the bigger events of the year coming up also on Saturday. That's the Canoe the Kazoo.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're interested, check out, you get the information. It's, more information is on their social media than it's on their website. I think it's just.
I was that too, yeah. Well,
Is that their cleanup then?
No, this is a canoe event, it's kind of a social paddle. This year it's co-sponsored by the White House Nature Center, which is an organization I am not familiar with. But that's one of the bigger events of the year, it's kind of a fun social outing. They said something like they'll be going by, wild rice beds, which would be cool.
Right on. Well, paddling the river is always a fun time, except for when there's 40,000 tons of silt your way.
Yep.
Gene, maybe next month,
Yeah.
if you're interested in doing a update on our wellhead protection efforts, July, that'd be great. We kind of covered odor task force, anything else to say on
And
that?
then no meeting.
Okay. And then maybe we can do one more check of the phone lines, and did you have anything you'd like to say, or just joining us for a meeting?
Sure, I'll add on a colleague of Justin, neighborhood business, looking at ways to improve energy of smaller businesses, so you're fireworks on White Box. Looking at potential ways of implementing.
What was your name?
Jared Purdue.
Jared Purdue. Thank you for joining us, Jared. Energy efficiency is a good way to get to that goal. All right, one last check of the phone lines. If we got anything left? One final thing and we'll be done. Give it a good 30 seconds. Nobody's on. All right, well, final thing, so as I'm finishing up my time on the committee, there will be a vacancy, so if anybody's listening and is interested in joining the committee, we're roughly a 90-minute a month commitment beyond whatever else research you or subcommittees that you might, be interested on top of that, so, yeah.
The city, when there were known vacancies, the city used to put that on the web, should we do that?
Yes, I will update,
Okay.
our folks on that, and, the good news is, as far as I'm aware, all of our stuff is up to date as well. So that's,
Nice.
I mean, it won't be in 4 minutes, but, I will take care of that quickly, so, any final thoughts, or?
Happy summer solstice today?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and today is World Giraffe Day.
Oh, nice.
So there's my natural resource.
Excellent.
Wildlife and natural resource update.
The head's closest to the sun,
Giraffe
perfect.
trivia, they have the same number of vertebrae as humans do.
Oh, wow.
Did they really?
Interesting.
20 times bigger.
I hope I get on Jeopardy and that's Final
Yeah,
Jeopardy.
right, no
There you
kidding.
go.
Absolutely. Well, that's how we'll fund some of these solar projects. Yeah.
Like Trivial Pursuit.
All right, then, we are adjourned. Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Ian, for.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ian.